All right, all right. Welcome to Camp Content. We are coming in hot with another episode, and this one is all about copywriting, so stay tuned. Really excited to introduce Sophia Dagnon. She's a B2B copywriter and digital marketing consultant specializing in all things social media and copywriting. She writes fresh, clean copy and tests a bunch of marketing techniques so you don't have to. But it doesn't just stop there. Sophia is not just another copywriter in the tech domain. She's a master of conversion-focused content that drives results with an uncanny ability to delve deep into the mindset of customers. Sophia employs non-invasive strategies to extract the very essence of what they desire, think, and feel. The result, highly tailored funnels, emails, and landing pages that resonate with target audiences, compelling them to act. But her prowess doesn't end there with crafting riveting copy. As the head of customer insights at Copy at Get Uplift, she champions a unique approach. Get Uplift stands apart with its distinct customer-first conversion methodology. It's a harmonious blend of data analytics with emotional analysis, ensuring businesses not just reach their potential customers, but touch their hearts and drive conversions, leads, and sales. So, without further ado, that's a lot of information, but this is really important because copywriting is literally an art that very few people recognize. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Sophia. I'm very excited to have you today.
Thank you so much, Molly. That was an amazing introduction. So thank you for that. I'm so excited to chat.
Hey, you're welcome. Well, we want to do research on people we're sitting with so we can have a good conversation and provide value and not waste your time and provide some value for the audience. So thanks for coming. So let's jump in. You've been doing copywriting for 10 years, so you have probably seen a lot change. But let's talk a little bit about what brought you into the copywriting sphere in the first place.
I think it was just like I graduated in archaeology, which of course is like utterly related to marketing. And so after that, I was like, all right, so I need like a job as an adult. And archaeology is really hard on your body unless you go into academia. So I was like, well, I don't want to be having surgeries by the time I'm 30. So like writing is safer. And so I got into content marketing and social media marketing and kind of just explored from there until I ended up in copywriting and now CRO.
So that's a perfect segue because what is CRO? What is that?
Okay, so that stands for conversion rate optimization. And like a normal way to put it would just be, we try to help you get more leads and sales and kind of hit whatever goals you're doing. So it's just very go focused of, is this page converting at the rate you want it to be? Is it getting as many customers through the door? And what can we do better to help you grow your business?
And is that like a tool, like a CRM tool, or is that just like a process that you apply for?
It's a process. So to kind of like quickly summarize the process, it starts with a lot of customer research where we really get to know the customer, the market, and the product. And then how that goes is you then just test different strategic approaches, like on your landing pages, in any messaging, in emails. So it's a mix of then copywriting and testing.
Interesting. So when you engage with a new client, you're probably doing a ton of research first, right? Learning a lot about them, looking at what they've already done, looking at that data.
Yeah. So everything starts with an audit always, because otherwise you have nothing to go on. You're just guessing.
Well, exactly. And, I wanted to ask you about emotional targeting, right? Because you talked about that in relation to the CRO. So like, what is emotional targeting?
Okay, so to kind of pull back and set the scene a little bit, a lot of CRO programs test things like elements. So, you have like your website page. And so when you're doing testing, you'd be like, okay, what happens if we change the button? What happens if we change this headline? What happens if we add a new section straight in? And all of these things can be good, but when you're testing elements, you're not really testing an overall strategy. Right? Like you're not testing a particular hypothesis of, I think if my customers receive this information, they will take this particular action. And so where emotional targeting comes in, instead of just testing elements, we build an idea of what the person, like your best buyer, really wants. And then we test a strategy based around those needs. So each strategy is like, okay, so this person feels this pain. So in order to help them like connect them with this product so they can decide if it's right for them, we need to hit on this pain. We need to tell them these 3 things that they absolutely need to know. And then, we get them to convert. But you're always testing against that strategy instead of just, oh, these are cool practices to add in.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you don't have a strategy, then you're not going to hit your target. And that's just the reality of it, because there's so many shiny things and distractions and stuff happening in life. You can get off target if you're not really clear on what the goal is. So that's really interesting, because I don't think that a lot of people have a real clear on like who they're actually targeting, you know, or who they're actually talking to, right? Like that's a big distinction between targeting and talking to. And I think we have this like idea of we're talking to the internet, millions of people, or that's the goal to go viral. But like you're really not, right? Like you're talking to a small group of people. Most businesses, although you guys at Get Uplift are working with some really, really large companies and have really large audience bases, but the average business owner, you know, 10 new clients a year could like change their life drastically. So you're not speaking to a stadium full of people. You're really speaking to a very specific people. How do you dial in on that? How do you find the emotional profiling information? How does that work?
Okay, so we have a very specific process that absolutely works for every business, and it kind of starts as a three-pronged approach. So number one is customer research. And by customer research, I mean we do three things. We do a visitor survey, which you just put on your website. And the purpose of that, usually a homepage, if you're a bigger company and you have a lot of traffic, you can experiment with other key pages as well. But let's say you're a smaller business, put that survey on the page you send most people do, which would typically be a homepage. And what you're trying to find is, it's really like the answer to three main questions. Well, one main question, which is why people are there in the first place. Like what drove them to a particular website? What problem are they trying to solve? And what is stopping them from solving it right now with you? And so you pop these three questions in there. Visitor surveys over three questions tend to be tricky. Like people will absolutely drop off. Expect them to drop off after the first question. So that's just how it works. But that survey helps set the scene for you. So you understand if the traffic landing there is actually people that you can do business with.
Right.
The second thing is you send out a customer survey to your best customers. So make sure that you send that to people that actually, you know, really enjoy your product or you enjoy working with. Otherwise, the responses you get will not be as useful. And what you're trying to find through that survey is what are the pains that actually drove them to you? So everybody's switching from something, right? Like whenever you buy something, you're switching from that before state where you were in some kind of pain, irritation, something just wasn't working the way it's supposed to. And you're trying to switch to that other state. But you've been using something to try to solve that pain, whether that's like doing nothing or using a different product or just like sitting at your desk crying because like life is terrible. You're switching from something. So in that survey, you're trying to understand what did that person switch from? And what was that process like? Like, where did they look? And so you just ask them questions about like to remember back to what they actually did. So you're getting them to tell you that story of like, I was feeling this, then I switched, then I felt this, but I wanted to feel this when I chose your solution. And so you're building that story. But writing is great. You can't beat a conversation. So from there, you kind of take the people that gave you the best survey responses where you're like, oh, this is really interesting. This really resonates with what I know about my customers. And then you invite them to chat with you. And you know, most of the time, you won't really need to do anything more than just say, hey, we're updating our website. Like, could you help us out by having a quick conversation? And most people will respond. You can offer incentives and stuff if they don't. But frankly, we've just had really good response rate with just reaching out, letting people know we're researching and asking them to chat. And then in that chat, you start digging into those pains further. So you can really understand what those emotional drivers of the buying decisions are. Because ultimately, that's where all your strategy and where all your copy comes from. Because you just, in any human interaction, you're just solving a problem. You're solving a pain. So you have to know what that pain is. And then you solve it. And I kind of lost track now of the original question. Just started talking about research. Was this...
Well, we were talking about, what kind of research you do, and then how do you implement that stuff? So, right, like you've built this emotional profile, you figured out their pain points. I love this. Send the survey to people, send it to your best clients, figure out their pains, figure out what they were feeling when they wanted to switch. And then once you have all that, how do you then implement that into your marketing? Because a lot of people, it's like a lot of pushing for like what we have, our products, our services, our this, our that. how do you take that information that you've gotten and then turn that into copy that makes
That's
them
a good
act?
question. Okay, so you start analyzing, but let me actually back this all up with an example. So a while back, we worked with this e-commerce company that made a product that helped you straighten your posture out. So it helped you fix your posture. And so initially, we come in and the team there was fantastic. They were testing a bunch of really interesting things, but they were still selling the product to everyone. Because when you think about it, everyone wants a better posture, right? This is literally a fit for every human. But the thing is that when you target every human does not respond because they're like, well, this is kind of generic. This could be great, but I'm just not connecting with it. And so we did the process I just described. And as you were talking to people, three very distinct personas and pains came up. So the three pains were people just didn't like looking awful in photographs. And that was a major pain. It's I want to fix my posture so I can look better. When I look back at my pictures, I want to feel good about myself. Then there were people who had switched to remote work. So they were working at home in front of their laptops and they found themselves moving closer and closer to the computer kind of as the day went on. So they're like, no, my back is really sore after work. This isn't a life I'm willing to lead. I need to fix my posture. And the third one was just health conscious people who were like, I'm just feeling knee pain. I'm feeling joint pain. I need to do something to fix it now. I suspect it's my posture. And so we kind of identified those three drivers. And then you just start connecting your messaging to that. You start thinking of, okay, so when I run this ad, I'm actually targeting this person. Let me just paint a picture of who they are. You're an office worker. You're feeling this. This product helps you fix this problem. And so you just start connecting based on the patterns that you see.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because intuitively, as a business owner, you want to say this is what we do. This is the product we offer. And we put pictures of ourselves, right? Especially in the entrepreneurial world and coach world. It's a lot of pictures of themselves, right? And it's no, you want a picture of the woman whose life you're trying to transform, especially in that kind of a space, right? Because it's I don't want to see you looking pretty and well-adjusted and beautiful and in sunset pictures. I'm over here struggling, trying to figure my life out. I need you to help me. I don't want you to be perfect. I want to see something that looks like myself on there. Oh, she looks like me, because I don't look like her. I don't look like the lady in the sunset with the flowing white dress and a yoga pose. That's not me. I look like the lady at my desk who's been there for 15 hours, who's looking for something else. That's what I want to see in the marketing, not some perfect person. It's
Exactly. It's that you nailed it. It's the meeting people where they're at. Because at some point you may want to show off that state if you're selling becoming that shiny haired person.
right.
But especially at the beginning of the journey, you want to connect with the person with where they actually are and where they're struggling.
Exactly. It's really interesting because I think copywriting is just it's one of those things that most people don't understand how valuable and important it is. Especially things like split A/B testing, right? I think people have heard of it and they kind of know what it means, but I don't see too many people outside of marketing agencies and copywriting people actually doing it. YouTube has some tools now that'll help you split test different titles for your video, which is great. But can we talk about that a little bit more and how you use that in copyright or how that would be relevant for a small business owner,
So the thing with A/B testing is that the larger you are, the more useful it is, at least in terms of how the tools work. So no matter your size, being roughly aware of your analytics and essentially how people come into the page is useful. But when it comes to using those formal tools, because you need to have a certain number of people go through it to reach statistical significance to basically know if the test works or if you're just falling into something called the law of small numbers, where small numbers group in really weird and predictable ways that don't actually bear out if you have enough people going through them. I'd recommend not using those specific tools until you have enough traffic. But you can still do testing as long as you just do pattern testing. So you look at something that happened in a particular period of time, and then you see if you're increasing conversions based on your actions. So you're more looking to grow over time. The smaller you are, the more you just need the trend line to generally go up. I mean, it's obviously going to do that wiggle thing because all trend lines always do, no matter what we do. But you're looking at like trending upwards. And I think that's where testing specific strategies, like copy strategies on your landing pages, on your ads of like, okay, so I did all this research. I now feel that the customers I want to go after have this very specific pain. You write a landing page that just hits that specific pain, as well as you can. And then you see, okay, like in 4 weeks, has this landing page gone up? And then if you're using paid ads, you can do a little bit more A/B testing in there because those tools usually give you fairly good results. But if you're just kind of testing by yourself, look for that trend line.
So that's helpful. So Get Uplift you guys are working with some really big people like Sprout Social, and I looked at your client list. So you're probably working with companies that have massive databases and audiences and things like that.
Yeah, so we do a lot of traditional A/B testing, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend that getting stuck into that rabbit hole when you're still growing.
Yeah, I think focusing on the copywriting is better. So for somebody who's like a small business owner, right, who's not like a Sprout Social or a really big company like that, what would you recommend they do? Like if they're like, all right, I know my copy sucks, I'm listening to this episode for a reason. What's one great actionable thing that they could do to improve their content today or a landing page today?
So this is two things, but kind of combined to one. So number one, go through your copy and actually just remove all your filler words. Everybody has a bunch of filler words and phrases that we add in because this is how humans write. Like absolutely everybody writes this way. But when you're writing for your own business, you don't have time to go through and actually fix those during the editorial phase. So chances are they're still on your site. So just go through it. And whenever you're saying things that don't change the meaning of the sentence, just cut them. And it will lead to a much cleaner, much more focused kind of bit of copy. And the kind of upside or like the terrifying side of that is that you'll suddenly be able to see what you're actually saying. Because when you strip out all the, not fluff, but kind of all the covers around the writing, you're like, oh, wait, I thought we were saying X, but we're actually saying Y. Because the fluff language just let me believe that we're actually saying something completely different. So that lets you look at what you're actually saying. And then the next part is, is what you're saying aligned with the pain? Because the thing about copywriting where I think a lot of people get stuck is they feel it has to be perfect. And the actual words on top, you can get away with it being good enough and still get great results. What has to be perfect is whether you identify the correct pain. Because if you're not solving the correct pain, it doesn't matter how good everything sounds, like it just won't work. So cut the fluff, make sure you identify the correct pain. If you're not, write copy to, solve that pain and then cut the fluff again and see how that works.
That's super helpful. I'm going to go do that with my own website. We do a lot of, descriptions of the podcast episodes, and we've really been focusing with the team on lean away from adjectives and focus more on keywords and focus more on anchor words and not leave 90% of those adjectives out of the mix because it just complicates things. It's like,
and there's a place for that as well. There's absolutely a place to be more descriptive. Blog posts are great for that. Certain email types can be great for that. Right. But it's just because your site is really, think of it like it's a storefront. It's a directional tool. You're using it to direct people to different places. That's when you want to be as clear with your directions as you humanly can. Turn left.
Exactly. So Sophia, before we go, where can people find you and how can they work with you?
You can find us at getuplift.co. We have a bunch of resources. We have a fantastic free email course that kind of gives you more context on emotional triggers and how to use different psychological triggers in your marketing, which is a great place for small business owners to start. But otherwise, getuplift.co.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Sophia. Have an excellent day. And I'm sure you'll hear from me again soon because I love the work you're doing. And thank you for tuning into Camp Content. We'll see you again real soon. Until then, be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Camp Content. This is Molly.
And this is Matt.
And we are Heartcast Media, aka Camp Content, and we appreciate all of your support. If you found this content valuable, please comment on social media, LinkedIn, wherever you find us, and we will make sure to comment back.
And be sure to go on and subscribe and like on your favorite platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, you name it. Leave us that subscription, leave us that good review.
We'll love you forever. So until next time, be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.